Hi guys and girls, and welcome to Magic. In this episode, I am going to show you how you can turn your website into a ChatGPT bot. You see, if I go to chat.openai.com and I ask it, who is Aista? Who owns Aista? What product does Aista deliver, etc., etc. ChatGPT doesn't know anything. Simply because Aista is too insignificant for ChatGPT to having indexed and taught their machine learning networks about every single detail about my particular company or my segment or whatever. So what I'm going to be doing in this video, I'm going to create a chatbot that knows things about the Aista Magic Cloud, our product specifically, and it knows things about Hyperlambda, and I'm going to create it out of a website. So let me first go to manage here, and let me click machine learning here. This is new as of this version 15.3.0. Then I can supply my OpenAI API key. I'm going to create a new key here for this particular YouTube video. For the record, I always destroy my API keys after every single YouTube video. So there are no reasons for you to try to copy my API key here, because it's going to be destroyed before you see this video. Now what I have my API key provided, then you will see I get three activated tabs here. The first one is models. A model is basically a wrapper around an OpenAI model, and I can have as many models as I want to, and I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call it docs_aista_com. And then I'm going to base it upon DaVinci Text, DaVinci 003. That is the strongest engine that OpenAI provides. For the record, this one is expensive. You might want to go with Kuri. Now, if I just click, this is the engine that chat.openai.com actually runs on. Now, if I now just immediately start testing this engine, and I write, for instance, what is Aista Magic Cloud, then it is probably going to give me some sort of like completely irrelevant answer. A digital asset, content media, and application, cost-effective way to... It's not like 100% wrong. But I mean, it's not more than like 50% right either. Now, if I now click import training data, then ta-da! Yes, you are literally looking at what you think you're looking at. I can provide the domain for our documentation website. It is here. This is our documentation website, right? And it contains like 200 pages or something, going into every single detail related to like Hyperlambda and Aista Magic Cloud and etc., etc. Just provide the URL here, and then I set the delay in seconds. I'm going to set this one down to 1 second. Then I'm going to set the maximum number of pages to crawl to 200. And then, ta-da! It starts crawling that website. And after some 5 minutes, it will basically have generated training data for every single web page that exists inside of that website. So while we wait for it to finish, I am going to pause the YouTube video, and then let's continue when it is done crawling my site. So now, some 3-4 minutes later, it has crawled all my web pages at docs.aista.com, and I've been given a small green notification in the top right corner. It's a WebSocket published message from the backend telling me that importing training data is done. And I can actually see it in my log here. You see generated OpenAI training data succeeded, and it provides me some information, URL and type of my model, etc., etc. So now if I now go back to manage and I click machine learning, I click training data here now, and I filter on docs_aista.com, you will see that it was actually able to find 1,062 training snippets from this particular website. Now, according to OpenAI, you need like roughly 200 training snippets to correctly teach their models something new, allowing it to provide intelligent answers to whatever questions you might have. However, this depends upon the complexity of your domain problem. If it's a new programming language, you need thousands of snippets. If it's just like a construct such as, foreign exchange trading, forex trading, for instance, it might be enough with like 300, 400, 500 snippets, etc. However, what I want to do now before I actually train, because if you look at some of these snippets, some of them are like really, really ridiculous, such as this one, tutorials and docs plugin. And the reason why is because my website isn't like perfectly structured. You need to have like a very, very good structure on your website. So I'm actually going to do tutorials here now, at which point I'm finding 93 exactly similar snippets. This is because I'm unfortunately using like H2 tags or something in my nav bar. So I can just delete all of these snippets immediately by clicking one button. Then I'm going to do the same with some of the other ones. If you look at docs plugins, it's like a similar problem here. So I'm going to delete all docs plugins. And then I'm going to keep on washing doc utilities. It's the same problem. Docs utilities. Okay, so let's delete those guys. 92 snippets. Let's find, see MISC. What is MISC? MISC is also some rubbish stuff. I don't want to have part of my training material. Let's delete those guys. And then let's look at it, how it looks like now. Now it looks like better. If I look at testing your CRUD API, for instance, you will see, okay, here's the prompt and here's the completion for this particular question. There are some issues. It's not like perfect. Some places it messes up things. So you might want to go through and like, fine review your training data before you supply it to OpenAI's API. But I'm just going to go ahead now for and actually start training my own models. I get like 689 snippets now of training data. If I now go back to models and I choose this model and I choose start training, then I can choose a base model to start my training from. Now, for this particular exercise, I'm going to be choosing DaVinci. Now, at this point, you cannot choose Text DaVinci 003 because OpenAI don't allow you to fine-tune these models and create your own model based upon them. The smartest one you can actually choose is DaVinci. DaVinci is expensive, for the record. This training session is going to cost me like $15 or $16. If you choose Curie, it's going to cost like $2 or $3 instead. And it's also more expensive to query. However, I'm going to still choose DaVinci, even though Curie would probably be enough for me now. And these guys, don't mess with them unless you know what you're doing, please. So, and then I'm going to start training. This is going to take like some 20 minutes when I've started training before it is done and my model is available for use. So while we wait for that, I'm going to post a YouTube video and come back in 20 minutes. Yay! Finally, it almost took 2 hours, but now my fine-tuning is done. The reason why it took so long time is because I was queued up as number 31. So I had to wait for 30 other guys to fine-tune their models before they would give me the CPU required to train my model. Now, but in later videos, I'm going to teach you how to fine-tune during the night, which might be beneficial, especially if you're located in the US. For weird reasons, it seems to go much, much slower at peak hours during US office hours. Anyways, you see here now, Text DaVinci 003. If I switch back and forth here now, you will see now, ta-da, it's using my new model called DaVinci, Aista, docsaista.com, blah, blah, blah. And I can now start using this model. Now, the point being that I now have what we call in domain-driven design a bounded context, right? I mean, if I go to chat.openai.com and I ask, how do I use ads, right? Then ChatGPT is going to serve me rubbish. Why? Because I don't care what the word ad means, or I don't care what is the Oxford Dictionary's definition of the word ad. I care about how the ad keyword in hyperlambda works. And I have now trained a model that is super sharp, based exclusively upon the training data I supplied to it as I trained it, which again was gathered by scraping a website, resulting in 689 snippets of training data, specifically training my personal brain, you might say. Now, the use cases for this are insane, such as, for instance, I used to work with Forex trading companies for several years. Now, what do you do when you come to a Forex company website and you have no idea but what Forex is? Well, you typically start browsing around the website. You see words such as leverage and spread and margin. Okay, so let's take the word margin. You go to chat.openai.com, you ask, what is margin? Okay, it's probably going to give you like the Oxford Dictionary's definition of the word margin. How does that help you when you're on a Forex website? How does that help you when you're on a CSS tutorial website? In CSS, the word margin means something completely different than it means in Forex, and then it means according to the Oxford Dictionary, right? By the way, it failed. ChatGPT it's not because of ISTA, it's because of ChatGPT. Let's try to ask a different question. What is Hyper IDE? Okay, let's see if it can figure out some intelligent answer to that. ChatGPT is suffering from scalability problems. The project is growing at the same speed that, cold fusion is. So there are some issues with ChatGPT, and they're not related to ISTA. And here you see, what is HyperID? HyperID is a code editor component for Magic, allowing you to edit your code and or create new code for any project you have access to. HyperID is integrated with the rest of Magic's component and allows you to edit your code while also having access to all of Magic's autocomplete features and other features, such as, for instance, syntax highlighter, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Notice HyperID is not a full-featured code editor, but rather a component that allows you to edit your code while also having access, blah, blah, blah. Perfect answer. Now, if I go to chat.openai.com and I ask the same question, it's going to give me rubbish. Why? Because I don't care about whatever other hyper IDs are out there. Let's ask another question. Can I, what is a scheduled task, right? Now, of course, that, Oxford Dictionary definition of a scheduled task is something completely different than the answer I'm looking for now. Because now I'm looking for a specific answer related to my problem domain. Now, what it gives me here, a scheduled task, is a task that is executed automatically according to some specific schedule. This allows you to create tasks that are executed automatically without having to manually start them. For example, you can create a task that is executed every minute, every hour, every day, etc. Blah, 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 blah. The above allows you to create a task that is executed every blah, blah, blah. You can also create tasks that are executed once and or tasks that are executed when some condition is met. Notice the task above will only be executed if the specific condition is met. This allows you to create tasks and blah, 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 etc. Now, this is the answer I am looking for, right? So let's take a look at some of the other features that you will find in the machine learning menu item here of ISTA Magic Cloud. Now, first of all, if I look at this thing now, you see I checked off the supervised checkbox. What does that mean? Actually, this is a kicker. Now I can go to requests. What is ISTA Magic Cloud? How do I use ads? What is HyperID? What is a scheduled task? If I now click this guy, then if ChatGPT says something that's wrong, let's say, okay, I have no screenshots, okay, so I want to delete the screenshots, right? But let's say everything else is 100% correct, or I want to remove this paragraph, right? I check off train, I click save. And I now go to my training data. And I filter on docs.asta.com. I sort on pushed. And I see here now what is a scheduled task, edit. The next time I train my model now, it will actually use this as a modified training snippet, allowing me to iteratively and incrementally over time train my model over and over and over and over again and polish it until it is perfect. Now, I don't know how many iterations you will need to actually do in order to have it answer perfectly in regards to your particular domain, whatever that happens to be. But with this thing, you can train over and over and over again. You can keep on training your model a million times until it's like perfect. And then in addition, you see these things here, they can be used as cache. You see, over time, inevitably, people will start asking the same questions over and over again. Even if it's you personally using your particular ChatGPT thing for solving, I don't mean, no, your job, whatever that might be. Okay, configure, turn on caching, save. Now, if I go to my requests here and I ask, edit this guy, and remember how it took 30 seconds for me to get an answer? Okay, so now I'm going to copy this question, close this guy, go back to models, and click test, ask the same question again, ta-da, 0.1 second it answers. Why? Because it never goes to ChatGPT, it never goes to OpenAI. It looks up the cache, so this works as an L2 cache for your particular ChatGPT bot. So now that we have created our private brain, if you wish, let's finish off this YouTube video by doing one insanely cool thing. Let's go to create, let's go to HyperID, let's expand, etc. Let's expand www. Let's create index.html. And now, of course, by default, if I'm editing a hyperlambda file, let me show you this, then by default, it will use the model called HL. If I'm editing an HTML file, it will by default use the model called HTML. However, if it doesn't have that particular model, it will resort to the default model. So the default model is the default. And of course, the default is TextDaVinci 003, which is OpenAI's most powerful engine. You can change this to Curi for the record to save some bucks as you're using your own AI model. However, I'm just going to keep it as it is. And then I'm going to close this window. Then I'm going to go here and I'm going to ask ChatGPT, create an HTML page that allows me to chat with a bot such that once I submit my question, it invokes an HTTP GET endpoint to retrieve the answer to my question. And let's see what ChatGPT comes up with now for us here in particular. So let's use this guy. Let's Alt-S to save or Option-S on the Mac. Let's go to eagle-polterguy.gb.asta.com, eagle-polterguy.gb.asta.com and see what it produced for us. Could be more nice. Create an HTML page with some shading and colors. Similarly to ChatGPT. Let's try this guy, see if we can make it produce some slightly more beautiful HTML for us. It's using jQuery, which is kind of weird, but okay. Maybe I should have specifically asked it to use the fetch JavaScript function. Actually, let me do that and just see what it produces now for me, just for kicks. Okay, so let's use this guy. Let's save it. Let's go to here and refresh. Okay, better, much better. Now we need to modify the JavaScript function. Form, add event lister, submit, form query selector, question, and use the fetch JavaScript function to send my question to my server. The URL for my endpoint is https://eagle-polterguide.gb.aista.com/magic/system/openai/prompt. Let's try again. So A, you can train your own machine learning model based upon scraping a website. B, you can actually turn on caching and you can have supervised usage initially, allowing you to see the answers that it is actually providing a safeguard, allowing you to monitor how your chatbot is actually performing. B, you can, whatever. Hi, I'm ChatGPT. How can I help you? Now let's see the code it produced and let's see what it did. Okay. Fetch HTTPS eagle-polterguide.gb.aista.com/magic/system/openai method get, and then it's passing in a body. Seriously? You kidding me? Okay, this is like weird. But let's change it, and then let's change it to question mark prompt equal plus encode URI component. Where's our message? Plus and model equal. And now we want to use our docs_aista_com model. Let's try to save it, and then we want to make sure it is fetching it's not data.message, it's data.result. Then we want to save the thing. Let's refresh it and see what happens. Let me turn on the console here to make sure everything goes according to plan. How can I use SQL Studio to visually design my database? Send, and something went wrong. Headers eagle-polterguide.gb.aista.com/magic/system/openai prompt. Can I use Visual Studio model docs_? It's type. Type equal. Okay, so let's ask it the same question once more. Copy this guy. Refresh. Clear our requests. And what happened now? Access denied, yes. So now we're going to have to go to our machine learning guy here, and we're going to have to edit our model or configure it and turn off authentication and authorization and save it. Now, if I just send my message again, oops, then hopefully we will be given an intelligent answer here now. Yet again, OpenAI is experiencing what we used to refer to as the Slashdot effect 20 years ago, simply because there are millions of software developers all over the planet and probably hundreds of millions of people currently trying to access it. I've got a friend of mine in Ukraine. He hasn't even been able to register. He's been trying like 200 times every single day for like 2 weeks. He can't even register. They even have a waiting list for commercial accounts. Yes, you can use SQL Studio to visually design your database. This allows you to create tables, columns, and foreign keys, etc. visually using a drag and drop interface. Okay. It's not drag and drop, but okay, it's similar. To create a new database, you can use the new database menu item in the SQL menu, blah, blah, blah. Okay, close enough. Let's have a look at how it actually looks like, just to give you an idea. So here is SQL Studio. Here I can visually design my database, create new tables, etc. So it's close enough. So yes, so let's go through the settings here such that you understand them. First of all, okay, training data. Here you see all the yellow ones. They are not pushed, right? If I sort here, you will see that all of these green guys, they're pushed. I can filter according to type. HL, this is the default model you start out with as you create a new cloudlet or download Magic yourself. I have created 798 Hyper Lambda related training snippets. You can actually have a look at them here. Here it says, for instance, okay, add all nodes having value of QWERTY from source into dest. That's exactly what it does. And of course, it's got autocomplete and all that beautiful stuff. So I've created 791 Hyper Lambda related snippets. If you want to, you can actually push this model by going to model here, and then you choose HL and you just click start training. I'm not going to do that, but I could if I wanted to. Training the Hyper Lambda HL model on query typically costs you less than $2 for the record. That gives you an extremely good Hyper Lambda ChatGPT model, allowing you to ask it for Hyper Lambda related questions. Then you can unpush. For instance, if I now go here, I choose docs.asta.com. Let's say I want to unpush, mark as unpushed. What that basically means is that it's going to become a part of my next training session. If I click here now, it's going to mark 690 snippets as unpushed, implying the next time I do a training session, it's going to ask me, it's going to use these snippets to train. This allows me to train over and over again using the same data. I'm not going to do that. Then when I go here on my model, if I try to click start training here now and I have 0, you see now I have 1 snippet. Okay, let's go to training data. Let's filter on docs.asta.com. Let's find this guy. Let's just delete it. Let's go back here and let's start a training session. As you can see here, no training data. You need to create or import training data first. Right. Now you can import scraping a website, right, like we did. And importantly, you do not want to keep this value too low. You probably want at least 2 seconds, maybe even 5 or 10 seconds between each consecutive page scroll. Why? Because otherwise the website you're scraping might believe it's being DOS attacked, right? Because it's getting like hundreds and potentially thousands of HTTP requests originating from our Kubernetes cluster. So please keep this value at some same default. It's got a minimum requirement of 1 second. However, in order to not be banned from some like external website thing, you might want to put it up to 5 or 10 even. This is the maximum number of URLs to crawl. Basically what it does, it fetches the first document at your website URL, docs.asta.com. It fetches the root document and it finds every single URL that's internally within this particular website and traverses these crawls every single HTML document it can find from this particular URL. Then it chops it up into H1, H2, H3, 4, 5, and 6, plus adding the paragraphs it can find below those particular HX nodes, becoming the completion, while the HX tag becomes the prompt. Now you can also do advanced mode, and here you can upload CSV files, XML files, JSON files or YAML files. If you upload a file, then typically you would have a CSV file with a prompt header and a completion header. If you have something else, well, let's say you found an XML file for, I don't know, ornithologists, and this XML file has like bird name and description, right? Okay, then you can change what becomes your prompt: bird name, bird description, at which point you can immediately import this XML file without even transforming it to something else first. And you can do the same with JSON and YAML. Now, it must be an array of items, and both the prompt and the completion needs to be at the same level. So if you have an XML file, it needs to be an XML file with an array of items. The same with, you know, JSON and YAML, and CSV, of course, you probably understand, because it's basically a 2-column CSV file. So this allows you to literally use any data source you might wish as your source for training your particular model. And of course, in the future, we will be supplying additional data source inputs. So anyways, that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's a link in the description of this YouTube video to where you can actually register. You go to aista.com, you register, you create your own Cloudlets. That is literally what I did here. I have my own Cloudlets, right? If I log in here now, we have 90 days free trial demo Cloudlets that works for 90 days. Realize though, after 90 days, your Cloudlet's going to be automatically destroyed. So either you're going to have to bump it up to a commercial Cloudlet, paying €6 per month starting price, and or you're just going to tolerate your Cloudlet being destroyed. Then here's my Cloudlet. Ta-da! And this was where I created the thing. Yet again, there's a link in the description of this YouTube video. Please share this video with your friends. And if you want to play around with Aista Magic Cloud locally, the thing is open source. It's hosted at GitHub. You can go here and you can fork the thing or download the code or do whatever you wish with it. It's permissive open source, and it allows you to create closed source applications as you wish with it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.